My wife and I have been married for just over 9 years, and we share an 8-year-old son. After his birth, she became a full-time stay-at-home mom. For a while, this seemed to work, though it placed a great deal of pressure on me as the sole provider. In April 2019, she returned to the workforce, taking a part-time role as an assistant to a manager at a medical software sales company. She felt discouraged about the low pay, but I was genuinely happy for her, hoping that having her own career might reignite her sense of purpose and motivation. She had, for some time, expressed dissatisfaction in our relationship, saying she wished I were more spontaneous and interesting, though she could never quite explain what she meant, even during counseling. Still, I noticed a shift about 3 months into her new job. She seemed happier, less critical, and a more engaged mother. Our intimate life, which had been stagnant for nearly 5 years, even showed signs of rekindling. I thought we were turning a corner. What I didn't know was that around July 2019, she had begun an affair with a 53-year-old surgeon she met at a medical conference. Her job involved travel to clinics and conferences, and she used that as cover to meet him, often while I stayed home with our son. The affair continued through April 2020, during which she later admitted that her work travel was mostly fabricated during the early COVID lockdowns. Eventually, she confessed to the affair. She said the man was everything I wasn't: wealthy, successful, worldly, and driven. She told me she regretted becoming a mother because it had trapped her with me for nearly a decade. She asked me not to follow her, packed up her things, and left to sublet a room from a friend. What followed was emotional devastation, not just for me, but especially for our son. He became withdrawn, anxious, and socially isolated. He cried himself to sleep, convinced he was unlovable. My wife, meanwhile, refused all communication except for a formal letter noting our separation date and her intent to file for divorce a year later. 5 months ago, she even tried to pressure me into signing a separation agreement filled with unreasonable terms. I refused and retained a lawyer. Then, out of nowhere, her tone shifted. 2 months ago, she began reaching out, saying she wanted to be civil. Last week, she asked to meet. At that meeting, she broke down in tears and told me that the man she left us for had emotionally abused her. He had lied to her, claiming he was separated and divorcing his wife, a 26-year-old finishing grad school in another city. In reality, he was still with her. When his wife found out about the affair, she exposed everything, calling my wife's employer, which cost her the job. The surgeon stood by as his wife threatened legal action and promised restraining orders if my wife ever contacted them again. He later admitted he adored his wife and had no intention of leaving her. My wife now claims it was all a mistake, a moment of insanity. She says she's willing to go to therapy and that she never intended to be malicious. She says she was manipulated, lied to, and wants to come home. She wants to rebuild our family. But I am left with a storm of emotions: betrayal, anger, confusion, and fear of falling back into a relationship that nearly destroyed me. I don't know how to navigate this, especially with the well-being of our son at stake. I want to shield him from further trauma, but I also know that bringing her back into our lives could reopen wounds that have just barely begun to heal. I was prepared to move forward with divorce, but now, she says she'll lose it if I file. She says she just wants to rediscover the love we once had. And I don't know what to do.